In this final episode of Tandaza Mkeka, we are hosting an intergenerational conversation between two remarkable women. Our guests represent different seasons of life through womanhood. One, a wise and seasoned 55-year-old, and the other, a dynamic and insightful 27-year-old. Together, we will dive deep into an array of topics that have shaped and continue to mold the experiences of women across generations. Speaking about important topics such as sex and identity, silencing of women, access to information, safe spaces, and mental health. With this episode, we want to show how these conversations hold a unique power as they enable us to bridge the gap between women of different ages, backgrounds, and life contexts. By comparing and contrasting their experiences, we gain invaluable insights into how societal attitudes and norms have shifted over time. Welcome, beautiful ladies, to the final episode of Tandaza Mkeka for this season. Yay! I would like, before we start, I'd like you to introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and how old you are, because this is an intergenerational conversation. And what brings you here.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here. My name is Wambui and Nelly. I'm 55 years old. I'm the mother of two, very proud. I've been a hotelier for many, many years. And customer care is who I am, and that's what I'm training in. I'm glad to be here so we can divulge all the information that we have. Thank you.
Thanks.
And I'm Nelly Sironka Rupande. I am 27 years old, an intersectional feminist, a child-free woman, an avid reader, and I'm also very enthusiastic and passionate about organizational development. And I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, ladies. Karibuni sana. Nimewatandazia mkeka.
Asante.
So we're going to have this conversation. It's very important. I feel like it's very important for us to understand how we navigate through womanhood and life as a woman, and what that looks like across different generations. Because as we know, as we all have seen, the way our parents parented, moved through life, our grandparents and us and our children, very different. Based on how the environment, climate, government of the day, things that you're told, patriarchy, tells you how to navigate through life, and how you do that. It's challenging sometimes. Sometimes you have opportunities. So the first question is, how do you feel like through your generation you've been able to do that? Figure out your life as a woman from the time when you're a child up to now, and how has it been different? I know it's like a 25-year-old, like it's a 25-year gap question, but you can tell us from the time when you're a child to now, how good or bad has it been navigating?
Changes have been so abrupt. For instance, when we grew up, we had one phone in the house. There was no mobile phones. Today, everybody's on mobile. Check it out. The way we used to dress, women, I remember I grew up wearing long dresses. Today, what are we wearing? So basically, I've seen the change come over and over. Respect, we used to respect each other. Hi, how are you? But today, times have really changed. We are very disrespectful. Children, we are not training our kids on how to respect elders. And honestly, there's a lot of negativity on my end as we see the new generation. Respect is really, honestly, almost not there from the languages, the dress code. So, hey, we really need to, I feel as a mother and a grandmother, I would really love to see us educate our children more, like the way we grew up, being educated on how to respect each other, respect neighbors, and basically learn to live together and work together. That's what I would say.
And Nelly, can I start by asking, before you can answer the first question I asked, what do you think about that response about respect? Do you think that your generation is not respectful?
I wouldn't say that we're not respectful. I would say that maybe we voice our opinions more. We are very vocal about our opinions, and we will share our opinions with anyone and everyone, regardless of age, because even at work, we'll tell our bosses that this is not working. But I guess the other thing that maybe my generation should do is try and understand that perspective, right? So it's what you say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So maybe you can relay the same message, but take into context this person's upbringing, their age. Yeah, don't say it the way we'd say it to me. Yeah, so I wouldn't say for us, it's more we're just vocal, but we have something to learn when it comes to how we say it and putting into context who we are speaking to, how they were raised, their values and stuff and so on. Yeah.
Sorry, I asked you another question where you should have answered the first question.
Yeah.
So answer the first question, then I'll respond. How have you been navigating through life?
Yeah.
Like, are you seeing any changes, nuances that weren't there during your mom's time?
Okay.
Yes.
I feel like some things have remained constant in the sense of like sisterhood. I think that is what it could be for my mom. She was in the Catholic Women's Society. Something
Yes.
association. I don't know what it's called. It's sisterhood. So mine is not religious or church based, but I still have sisterhood from women in my book club. People, the friends I made in college. So that has remained constant. That aspect of sisterhood and finding community with other women. I think what has changed is the freedom of choice. I feel like my generation has embraced choice a lot, like especially at my age, where now we have freedom of like to marry, get kids. We have some resources that enable us to make these decisions. You see friends who are making a conscious decision to get married. Others are making a conscious decision to explore their sexuality.
Yeah.
Some are tying their tubes. Others are getting babies out of their own free will. So I'd say the biggest difference is choice. We are very, I would say, privileged to be able to explore our options without shame of fear. Yeah.
Nelly,
Yes.
your generation, I've heard,
Yeah.
these are rumors, not substantiated by any research
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just stuff that you read on the TikToks and the Twitters.
Yes.
That your generation is more scared of getting pregnant than getting HIV or any other STDs. Is that true?
Oh God, I'm speaking for an entire generation. Sorry guys if I gosh. I would say that might be true. And maybe it comes from a place of we forgot about HIV. You know, like HIV was put on the back burner.
Yeah.
And it's not very evident. You know,
people are dying of AIDS. Like
it was not like as evidence as pregnancy. You know, you see the bump, you see the baby. You carry the evidence with you all through your life with pregnancy.
Through your life, Nelly.
No, it's true. You get a baby, you have it for the rest of your life.
But with AIDS, you can take pills.
Yes. So I feel like it's one of those things whereby the consequences of pregnancy are so like it's there and then, so maybe people fear it more. But again, from what I've read recently is that HIV is very prevalent. It's back on, and we need to start having that conversation. But I can see how that those assumptions are being made about my generation. I cannot say whether correct or wrong.
Yeah.
But I even from a personal experience, I fear pregnancy. I really do, you know. So I'll do everything. But okay, I'll do everything. No, another thought has come to mind. I'll do everything to make sure I am not pregnant.
And where do you find your information from?
Okay, maybe I can give my journey on contraceptives and contraception. First was that conversation I had with the girls. I feel like for us women, we often have those conversations around, okay, let me talk about my experience. My circles, we have those experiences, conversations around contraceptives very often. And then Google, I remember, it's interesting because I had access to information, but it took me forever to make a decision. And I felt like I was dealing with, what can I say? The myths and misconceptions that I was socialized. So it was like a battle. I have this information, but then I also have these myths and misconceptions that I have to debunk around contraceptives. So for me, it was a lot of Google. And also, Mary stops. Yes, I'm a client.
You're a client.
I'm a client.
So you go see a gynecologist? Oh, yeah. I was going to ask.
Yes, so my gyna is separate from the services I get at Mary Stops. Yeah.
And I also feel like this generation, I'll include all of us, is and not include our parents, I feel like our generation has more options with you getting pregnant does not mean the end of the world.
Yeah.
You getting HIV does not mean the end of the world. However, when I think about it that way, for me, I think about if I get pregnant right now, there are options available, my stops and them, for me to be able to say, I don't want this child. I'm not going to have this child. Or if I get HIV, I know there's a possibility that I might live for a long time because they're medicines. But I don't feel like our parents had that option. So for them, if it was like, you are pregnant now, oh my God, where will you go to school? What will you do? Or if you have HIV right now, you're going to die in the next 3 weeks.
That's true.
Like
So
it was just so end of the world for
true.
them.
End of the world.
And I feel like we have more options right now as opposed to them. But I also wanted to ask you specifically, right now, I feel like there's a community of women that I can ask a bunch of these questions. If it's not my gynecologist, it's my friends. If we talk randomly about just, my IUD is not working, it's giving me problems, or it's just a normal conversation, which I couldn't have with my parents until I was much older. I say this to people and they never believe me, but I had my first contraception conversation with my mother and my gynecologist after I've had my first baby.
Wow.
Yes, I didn't know what contraception was. So because I went to a Catholic school, and in our Catholic school, the extent of what sex education was gonorrhea. We actually shown a video. We showed the video, yes.
The ugly video.
The video of like, this is what gonorrhea looks like. This is what, if you have sex, this is what's going to happen. So it really took me a long time to think about what contraception could be and what that could look like. So I think it's different now. And because I have this bond or this community of women and Unmothering, that I can go and ask these questions. Do you have that even right now?
Basically, it's a dear friend that you can confide in, ask personal questions, and they'll answer you truthfully. To where, there are no boundaries. If you say they feel that this lump thing, so they'll go touch and tell you the truth. Wambui, this is it, this is not it. That kind of thing. So I believe an individual, there's that individual that also tells you the truth from the heart.
Yeah.
So where if it's good news or it's bad news, it's it.
Yeah.
But because I did not have one, and I definitely do. I trained that also to my kids to get that individual that they can ask questions, personal, medical, that they'll be answered truthfully. To know what's in you, what's the challenge between you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I also feel like there's a gap that I'm trying to fill in terms of access to information. I keep going back to that access to information because the next question is, do you feel like the information you're getting is right and correct? And are you that barrier for someone in your sisterhood or your group or your community? For me, I'm thinking specifically of my child, that she's getting all this information from different places, TikTok or whatever it is. Does she have you to come and ask, Mom, do you think this is true? I thought I had a lump in my breast or whatever it is, and then I Googled it and they said I have cancer or whatever. But because you're not, our parents didn't give us that bridge. Do you think you're providing that or you've been provided that by your circle, your mother, your whoever it is?
Yeah, I can say I have, and I think of it as in two levels. First, the people, my circle, which is mostly, well, I wouldn't want to say my age group because I also, like with the ladies I hang out with from my book club, there are people who are also in their 50s. So the filter of that information comes in the sense of different perspectives. So that's, I'll share maybe a TikTok on the group chat and someone will give a different perspective. So in that sense, then I have a filter, or rather like, what can I say, someone to bounce off my ideas or my perspectives off of. And then the other level is I have younger cousins and nieces. So there might not be as close to or as comfortable talking to their folks about certain things as they would with me.
Yeah.
So I try my best to make sure that they feel at least some sense of comfort talking to me about certain things they've seen on the internet. So I do have that level of, I can get perspectives from friends and community, but also I'm conscious that there are younger people who I can provide that filter and guidance to, in the sense of, my younger nieces and younger cousins. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I asked that question was we had an intergenerational conversation like this in Mombasa. And one of the women said, "This is such an enlightening space that you've provided for us. It's very rare," she was older. "It's very rare for me to sit with a group of women of diverse age groups and talk candidly about things such as sexuality or contraception, things like that." She said, "I wish we could, as older women, be provided spaces, more spaces like this that are safe. And it's not, you're not waiting for me to give you advice as an older person, but I'm here to also share." Because what she said was, because of her age, she feels like she doesn't have enough like space to just ask those questions she's always wanted to ask.
To learn, She has to be the wiser one.
She has to be the wiser one in all of these spaces. And I feel like that's coming a lot out of you. Like, and that's why I keep asking, do you have the space to ask these questions, to feel safe around other people and not having to teach, but learning, asking, figuring out life together. You know what I mean? People of your same age group, or not having to teach anyone.
No, actually, like she said, the lady, honestly, no, because we grew up without that. You see, we grew up keeping to yourself and learning through either.
Learning by doing.
Exactly. Those days was no Google. You're lucky, my dear. This Google. So with us, either you have a neighbor around, there's a nurse around, and our social didn't know none of that. So really, that's a very good question to ask. Because even for me, I'm wondering, where did I learn those things from? It's a tough question, actually. I must admit. So even for me, being here talking to you and her, I'm learning a lot from you. Nelly, I appreciate.
Thank you.
I really do.
I think those spaces are important because how I look at it is the first encounter where you have different women from different generations is family, right? So let's say, I don't know how your Christmas traditions look like, but ours is you go to grandma's and you're all hanging out there. When your auntie is speaking, she's speaking, you listen, right? So it's either she's giving advice or speaking from her experience, and her experience is truth because of her age. It's not really, it's rarely are the very rare occasions whereby it's a conversation and we are learning from each other. It's, you're young, you don't know, so listen, right? And if you question, why are you trying to bring the ship back to the, and even in the workplace, because I've worked in startup most of my very short career. And it's mostly people of the same age. Only recently did I start working with people who are, a bit older. And that's when even that thing of respect, where, you raised concern of my generation being disrespectful. It made sense when I started working with people who are older. And when you listen to them, because even I am surrounded with people who are of my age, and maybe I live in my own bubble because we share similar perspectives and such. When I started listening to the cook who's 50, and you're like, oh, actually, there's something to learn here. So there's not much, there aren't safe spaces for intergenerational conversations. And I think it does a disservice to both ends. Because then there's a misunderstanding of why am I doing things that I'm doing, and why are you expecting me to do things a certain way and I'm not doing them. So I feel like the more spaces we create for intergenerational conversations, and there is more grace for each other, and a more, we have understanding. I feel, talking too much.
No, it's okay. No, you're saying what you're saying is making sense.
Yes, because you what you don't know, you'll always misinterpret. Yes, because I'm working from assumptions, you know.
And that's why they call it an intergenerational gap or a divide.
Yeah.
You see, there's a reason why they call it a divide, because you don't understand why this person is saying these things, you know, and doing these things the way they're doing it. And you don't understand why this older person is doing things the way they're doing it. And maybe they were not taught differently. So there's so many things that you might know much more than her.
Agreed.
And that's something that, you know, we can take advantage of. You know, because you're like, when an older person comes and asks you, how do I use the computer? You're like, oh my God. You know, that's a first thought. But you're not giving this person grace because they were never taught how to use a computer. You know what I mean? Or like things happen too fast. We were using this type of computer now we are using this other one. So we have to give ourselves some sort of grace. But then I also feel like, and keep pushing, that people of your generation need to talk more with each other. Give themselves that opportunity. Like I've been pushing my mom. I mean, you have chamas. You all have chamas.
Yes,
You all have meetings with, you know, aunties and uncles and whatever. But when you sit down in that chama, are you having conversations about your body?
No.
Are you having conversations about, you know, the cancer that you feel like is going to come and you have no one to talk to? Are you having conversations about your son who's decided now he's becoming a woman? You know, so those are things that now I feel like people my mom's age are navigating through life by themselves. Because I don't see my mom saying to her friend, hey, Wambui has now decided to become Peter. Tell me what I should do. I don't see that happening.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Absolutely. Now I'm trying to think of who is it I can go and talk to that openly and freely, my age group. Selected conversation. Very selected. Yes. To be honest, I would rather come and talk to you. Nelly, tell you, by the way, this was what do you think? You've been, you know, with the knowledge that you have, you've been younger than me in Google and whatever. I'll be more comfortable speaking to you than to my age mate.
But I also think the circles are mostly informed or like they're formed through shared values. So, like, again, my mother's CWA, I think it's CWA,
Christian Women's
Catholic
Women's
Association is purely based on Catholic faith and values. So if you come there with a different value, I actually, sometimes people get kicked out.
Oh.
Yes. Like if you're seen drinking alcohol, you get kicked out. Now, you see, it's like you have to behave a certain way in this circle because you're governed by certain values. So, and I feel like also those same circles really, to a certain extent, uphold patriarchy. Because it's the same story, like, you know, this marriage, whether it's abusive or what, it has to last because of Catholic values and so on and so forth. So as much as, and I think maybe that's the challenge, the circles are informed, they're formed and guided by certain strict values. And so if you come in with a different one, you're sidelined or there's some repercussion. Whereas ours are formed by, yes, of course, we have underlying
values, values.
Yes, but then we are a bit more open-minded. We have different, we can question each other. I don't think it's the same for my mother who, you know, the CWA works a certain way. And the chama for aunties, for family works a certain way because they do. And it's not also this, I don't know, it's just founded on values that are strict and with very little room for open-mindedness
or
change or different perspectives. So that could be the challenge.
I feel like you are really missing out on trying to figure out how to navigate life together. You know, when we say sisterhood, I feel like there's a expanded view of what sisterhood should look like, that in your generation you're missing out. And I say this to my mother all the time. You know, there's a reason why unmothering should be the space that it should be. When I had that
the lady in Mombasa telling me that, I felt so sad, because if I can't pick up the phone and call my group of friends and tell them, guys, me, I think I am pregnant and I don't want this child, the first 3 or 4, conversations from my friends would be, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to help you? I have, people have already started sending links. We can go here. We can go here. I can come and hold your hand. My mother doesn't have that. And I felt it feels really, really sad for her. And I wish that there would be open spaces for, whether generational, intergenerational or not. I feel like there's an opportunity for us to, or for you, now that you live here, go and tell other, go and start your own safe space where you invite other people to, be part of this, so that you can. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to.
For me personally,
Yeah.
let me interrupt. For me personally, I have got friends that, for one, I told you I did counseling and talking to people, couples with challenges, blah blah blah. You tend to become friends with them. Then you end up meeting up and whatever. So for me, I do have a clique of friends that maybe a bit slightly younger than me, or kind of if you my age. So there are those people I can talk to openly and freely, be it about my body, like now I feel I've gained weight, what the hell do I do? Then they'll tell me, that kind of thing. So I do have that click. But when I think about it generally, that statement is a deep one, and it's honestly so true. You need that click you can talk to openly. Not I meet Jane, I'm not in her for so long, and I'm honest and open. There's still this boundary. Honestly, the boundary I feel, because they was never there. I'm more freer with her than with this person I'm not doing for so, unless I've been tied with you for long. But this other person, I'll open up more to you. That's truthfully, that's how I am.
Yeah. Nelly, do you remember the first conversation you had about sex? Let's talk about sex, and then at Kempinski. And
Yes.
My mom said something to me that day, which I'll repeat to you. So we had a conversation about sex and sexuality.
Okay.
It was a very, very intense conversation. That was last year. We brought in the room a diverse group of people, from the church to sex therapists to a BDSM, dominatrix. We had everyone in the room, sex workers.
Whoa.
Everyone that you can think of to talk about sex and sexuality and sexual expression and identity. It was a very intense conversation. For me, my mother was in the room. Forget about everything else that was being said that was quite important. I was sitting there looking at her, freaking out that, oh my God, I shouldn't have let her come here because this is too much. Like the stuff they were saying, like the dominatrix, she was talking to us about positions. These are the positions that you should have sex in, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, for me, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to go home and my mom is really going to ask me, but she literally said thank you for allowing me to come to this space, because I've learned so much.
Wow.
And that blew me away, because I didn't think that this space that we've created for Unmothering to talk about, openly what we're going through, challenges as mothers, as women who don't want to have kids, women who, giving us a space and a voice to allow us to see some of these things, would be intergenerational. I didn't know that. And so
maybe that's your niche or our niche.
Maybe that's our niche.
Yeah.
Because it feels like there's something that's happening there that we are yet to explore.
Yeah, and so, I just to add on to that, I feel like the challenge now is more to us, the younger people, to invite women who are older into our spaces.
Agreed.
And now for you people to come with an open mind, right? And because sometimes it's so hard to, when you're 60 years old, you've grown up with certain values, and it's so hard to get yourself out of your little bubble.
Yeah.
It's easier for me to come and invite you rather than you go looking for spaces with young people where the youngins hanging out. But if I, as a young person, invite my mother to the next Unmothering and give her a heads up, hey, it's interesting conversation, it's difficult, your perspectives will be challenged. The point here is not to have you join this group or the other, it's just to see life and learn and see life from other people's experience. So I think maybe that would be it. We invite them to our spaces just because I'm not sure they even know where we are hanging out, right? So that could be the challenge for us as young people, and for them to just come with an open mind and to accept that their perspectives will be challenged, and that's okay.
I agree 110%.
So let's go back to it. Let's talk about sex. I like talking about sex.
Me too.
It makes people very uncomfortable. And you have to think within yourself, why am I uncomfortable? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's talk about sex, sexuality, identity, expression, whatever that looks like. Did you have an opportunity growing up to talk about sex, identity? People who identify as bisexual, queer, gay. Was that a thing?
Absolutely not. I never spoke about sex. I remember when the first time I went to have sex, it was difficult. I didn't know what all this was about. It was a whole mystery. You're looking for like a whole, it's like, please. Honestly, no sex information was given to me. No, honestly, absolutely not. I got to learn as I grew older from the whole, the whole sexual thing, from the foreplay place to make a man comfortable, to make himself comfortable. Honestly, it's my own learning on my own that I got to learn. But being taught by, be it parents or whatever, none of that. Not on my end. No.
How about interactions with like the queer community?
For me, I did counseling, like I said, and my studying on my theme was on sexuality. I was in Mombasa. I met gay persons, lesbians, and we spoke. And to date, I really appreciate what I learned because I don't judge you being a lesbian or gay. I really respect them, and I've got friends to date because some choose to be there, some want to be there, and for me, I acknowledge 110%. I respect you for being who you are. If my son came today, of course I'll be a bit, but I'll not push him out of my life. No, I'll accept him. He come with his John Frank. Come on, carry the home. That's your choice. You have a right.
Was that different? Your view now? That's your view now. Was that different before?
Like of course, Jesus Christ. Ooh-wee.
How much
growing up? Hell no, that wouldn't have happened. Hell no. As I really believe we have to adapt to change. We didn't grow up knowing about lesbians and gay. But now as I grow up and get to learn and adapt and acknowledge the changes that we're going through, let me accept and hold them close. Just like anybody else. Bottom line.
I'm going to ask you, Nelly, that question, but differently. How has the concept of identity and self-expression evolved for you over the years? What does it look like for you right now?
I hope I've understood that question. But I can say that through my experiences, so I did a 1-year study abroad program, and I remember going there, looking back, I didn't know much about the LGBTQI community, IA community. And this is so embarrassing, but I remember I was having like a study buddy, and she told me, oh, he's queer. And then, in my head, like dictionary definition of queer is weird. So I said, oh, they're weird. And then she was like, no, he's queer. And then now she had to explain to me, and I felt so dumb. But then I was happy that I got to learn something. So that school was 40% LGBT, queer people, yes. So it was very like people who would cross-dress. It was a liberal arts college, and when I say liberal, it was liberal. So that for me was like that's when I started opening up my mind to all these, forms of sexuality and sexual expression. But also importantly there was a course on gender and sexuality in Africa that I took. Just because there's a lot of misinformation where we're told, being queerness is not African. It's a concept of the white man. And that class really debunked all those myths. And they were talking about communities in the South African mines where the men would pay the younger men to sleep with them so that they can have money for their dowry. Yes. So I was like, oh wow. So this whole story about being queer, being a white concept is a lie. It's actually an African thing, right? So I can say over time, I've become more open-minded. I've also felt challenged to learn more about the community and also be very privy of my privilege as a, I think I'm straight. Saying I think, I don't know. Things change.
Yeah, things change.
Yeah.
So right for now,
Yeah.
at this particular moment,
point, what time is it? I'm straight. Yeah.
not tomorrow.
As of this recording.
As of this recording.
Yeah. So I think being open-minded, learning, also challenging yourself to learn more and see your blind spots as a privilege, as a person who is in a privileged position, you know.
Yeah.
How has my self-expression changed? I feel like when I started exploring with sex, it was, this is how I usually describe it. It's like my soul is somewhere there at the corner, watching my body get things being done to my body. Like I was not an active participant, you know. I'm just there watching. I'm like, oh,
you're really amazing, Wambui. Like honestly, she's just like, what is that?
Yeah. So that was my first few encounters with sex, and then with time, I had a partner who really. I can say that was like a turning point. It became more involving. Like I became an active participant.
Finally.
I stopped watching from a distance. Yeah, and so I don't know, I'm a very vocal person.
Yeah.
But then those instances, like when it came to sex, I was not as vocal, right? So that used to bug me, like, why am I going quiet at this moment of discomfort?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but I got a partner who kind of
allowed you.
Yes, empowered me to speak up when I'm uncomfortable, also to explore my body. And from then on, it has been like that was a game changer.
Wow.
Active participation.
Yes. So I'm more outspoken. If I'm uncomfortable, I'll speak. If I'm not, like consent and all that. So I can say the more I grow older, the more confident I am. Like even with body insecurities, those have lessened. Have I answered your question?
Yeah, you have.
Okay.
Is it the same for you?
That's something we really need to talk about, by the way. Giving consent goes a long way, honestly. You could be married, but people take advantage of each other.
Yeah.
It's good when you're all at par to where you enjoy that moment. So for me, I don't think that was with me. Though with time, like I said, I've learned to appreciate and acknowledge and respect. To enjoy the moment, we all have to be on the same page.
But if you guys weren't talking about sex, then how do you communicate your needs and wants to the other person?
Back then it was like, come on, let's do it. Hey, get it over with, done, finished. You don't even know whether you finished or not. You don't know the detail of it all. Have you come? All that is null and void. Has a man done it, finished? Bye, or boy. But now today it's different. Damn, it's a whole different ballgame. Honestly, as you grow old, and of course it's a lot of studying your body, studying our sexuality. What makes me enjoy this space, and that's even what I try and train my own daughter. Enjoy your space, enjoy that moment. It happens, it's healthy, so it didn't happen then. Back then it was like it was not satisfying with them. Let me know. It's a whole different ball game. Oh my god.
Yeah. At least now you can express yourself in a way that makes sense. Do you think that came with age or with the time?
I think for me, personally, because I was out of the country, I was exposed, and I've been always wanting to learn more about sex, talking to people and studying a lot. I think not a lot of people, I've talked to people about sex my age, and some of them don't even know what coming is, and different things. So honestly, we are still not, they don't want to learn. They're still like, Asha. Let's talk about that. They still feel like, intruding in their privacy. You see, so sometimes you talk too much, that kind of thing. But for you, I can tell you. But for those ones, I feel a bit restricted.
Yeah.
Because don't get into my space.
But I feel like that discomfort is not just specific to your generation. Because I went through that same discomfort, and I'm sure there's someone else who's even younger. Because it's one thing to have the information out there and for you to embody it,
To
right?
choose to embody,
Yeah.
yes.
So as much as people are talking about sex and voicing your opinion and asking and giving consent, yes, it's out there, but is it in practice, right? So I think as much as your generation still has that discomfort around talking about sex, it's the same, and same for us. Maybe not as badly off as yours, but I feel like even I, with all the resources and the information, and even that community of friends that I've been talking about, I still there are like so many mental hurdles you have to overcome because of what you are taught. First and foremost, those videos of gonorrhea and syphilis that you are shown. So it's like I'm sinning, I'm doing something illegal, and then you've grown up in a majority Christian, country, Christian schools. So there's a way, there's a whole lot of unlearning you have to do to embody this freedom. It's there, but there's a whole, like a distance between you and that freedom. And it looks like unlearning all those things you've been told, that erroneous information you've been given, either based on religious values or just family values or what you've been socialized to believe. So you have to do a lot of unlearning and challenging and questioning perspectives for you to embody that freedom in any way. So it can be there, but we might not practice it.
It's the same. It's the same for us, I think, as well. Like, it's very difficult for you to, I'll say me, like, even going to talk to the gynecologist about my sex life or whatever that is, and this is your gynecologist, they're asking you those questions, and you're like, TMI. Like, excuse me, you didn't have to ask me like that way, but I feel like it's less than from your generation. Like, I feel like there's still some things. I mean, I'm not going to go and talk to my mother about my sex life. It's just not going to happen. But at least I know that there are other people that I can talk to about it and figure, I'm not going to do it alone, is what I'm saying. But I want to pivot and talk about mental health. There's a lot of this from your generation where they don't believe things like depression, being suicidal, anxiety are actual diseases that people suffer from. And I know with Nelly's generation, it's the opposite, where they literally take mental health days as part of the organization or period or menstruation days or things like that. It's more normal. So I think the question is, how has attitudes towards mental health and well-being across the two generations, what do they look like? Did you even have conversations about depression when you were growing up?
I don't remember that conversation about depression. Honestly, I truly don't. It was basically generalized, like, those people are just having problems. The father just started getting drunk. He lost his job. Yani it's just put in a cloud of not the real thing. Why does so and so drink so much? He lost his job, that's why he's drinking. Oh, that, but not really. What is the bottom line? What is making him drink like that? What, or like, so this person's always late. Why is she late? Why is someone losing so much weight or gaining so much weight? No, none of that was ever discussed. I've come to learn as I get to your age. As I got to your age. Oops, sorry. Precisely.
So you're growing younger, is what you're saying?
Yes,
you're growing 27,
which I really appreciate. Yes, which I truly appreciate. Yeah.
And you really?
Well, for us, we talk about it openly, and we have mental health or mental health days at work. You can request for those depending on your organization. There are also medical covers that will take care of your therapy sessions. So it's something we openly talk about, at least in my generation. But then, of course, there's that aspect of therapy is expensive and it's not accessible to everyone. And whenever I think of that, I think of how, because the kind of therapy we do, like the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that's the most common one. That's like, it's on the basis of a white man's research, right?
Okay.
Like, this is white people therapy. I'm not saying it's bad, but how I think of it is, what were our grandparents doing? Because of course they had those moments, that like challenging times when Mau Mau were fighting. How are they keeping themselves sane? Yeah. And I think through community is so important. Dancing, sharing meals, those aspects of community that are kind of lacking right now just because of individualism. And also just capitalism calls for you to be working 24/7, and with little time for community, for little time for sharing meals, or even dancing barefoot or anything. So yes, we've embraced mental health, but then it comes with a certain level of privilege. So how do we make it more accessible, or how do we start rethinking like mental health and finding more accessible ways of taking care of our mental well-being? I would say now that's the challenge for us.
For you, for your generation, But so, Wambui, do you go for therapy?
Wait, you made me remember something. Growing up, like now, if a couple had a challenge, remember we'd call elders.
Yes.
Let us call the elders of so and so. Then they handle it. Are they really handling the Wambui and John, or they're handling why is John either kicking out the wife, or what is
What's the underlying problem?
What is the underlying problem? The elders, yes, they were called. Thank you, made me remember that. Elders used to be called to talk to the couple, or if a child runs away or is acting up, or whatever. Elders were called, but not to find out why is Wambui acting the way she is. Nitasomewa, niambiwe culturally, I'm supposed to do this, all that culture thing. But anything about what is wrong with you?
What is really wrong?
Why are you acting like this? Why is it making you act like this? No. I don't remember that happening. Honestly, with all due respect, I don't remember that. Okay, back to you. Ask me.
No, I was asking you, do you go for therapy? Do you know people from your generation who go for therapy? Do you have self-care days and things like that?
Self-care days. Therapy. Gosh. We're going and just go for a massage or something like that. We're going and talk to a
professional, someone who's talking to you about your mental health, and you tell them you have this problem, that problem.
For me personally, I've not done it. And the friends I have, okay, I do have friends that are therapists and counselors. I'm a counselor myself. But doing it like religiously, no. Religiously,
You don't see value in it.
Now that I grew up to know it, yes, but honestly, it will work itself out. Okay. All that years going to listen to somebody for 1 hour. For me personally.
And massage.
Massage.
Therapy, that stuff, self-care, like taking a whole day for yourself just to go do things. And
I guess I worked in big hotels, and having lived out, I know I need to treat myself. I need to go do my nails. I need to look at my hair. I have to look at my hair.
I wanted to mention that.
I gotta look it. So for me, as we grow older, even if I'm growing older, I still need to look like myself. I cannot come around. Do you know how I have to debate on what I was gonna wear today? How I was gonna do? I'm like, guys, what do I do? I really feel at our age, even if we're growing old, we need still to look pretty. At least I'm walking around with you, not be embarrassed. Like that Kamama. Don't call me Kamama. Make me feel like I'm with you. Yes.
And you, Nelly, how important is self-care?
It's very important
for you.
I've been in therapy, I think, since early last year. And it was, as much as, yes, I was kind of trashing the white man's therapy. It's very, it's based on research, and it might not cater to the black person or have the black person in mind. But you see, when you talk about your childhood traumas and start to address like the root cause of this one behavior that is showing up, or why you're constantly dating people who are violent, it's just so insightful, and you'll find out that you'll be the one who's doing most of the talking, not even your therapist. It's like you go there, you speak, and you find answers for yourself.
Like they're just leading you to the path that you're like, okay.
And then you find the answer for yourself. So yes, therapy is very important. It took me a while before I got the person who I clicked. It's like dating. We sit with this one, you're like, I know, we know. And actually I found my therapist through Unmothering. So shout out. Yes. Yes. So self-care is very important, and especially just apart from therapy, for me is rest. I feel like some of us, depending on how you grew up, some of us are overachievers, and so you equate your worth to how much you can suffer and get things done. And so, I'm learning to stop feeling guilty for resting. Yeah, so I think that for me is like the biggest challenge. So I go to therapy. I indulge in retail therapy.
Hello.
And I try to normalize rest. Yeah.
Rest is political as a feminist.
It is very political.
I'm going to remind everyone to go watch our episode on firstborns, where Dr. Grace told us about how as firstborns and being overachievers, we feel like resting is, what did she say? She said, we feel like resting is a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's like you're wasting time. That's how we were. And that's as a result of direct trauma from our parents.
Exactly.
When did we ever see our mothers rest? My mother never rested, only when she was going to sleep.
Yeah. And that's sleeping for how long? Before she has to wake up and take you to school and do all those other things. And So she said that's a direct trauma response. Like resting, we don't believe in resting. Like you always have to keep doing.
Yeah.
And so when I asked you the question, do you believe in therapy? Do you believe? And then you laughed. I was just like, yeah, that's the response for everyone, because why would you go and spend your time talking to someone and money when you could literally just go talk to an auntie or whoever it is, or a friend for free? It makes sense.
It does.
Me and my sister have a saying. She had it from someone. She was like, do you want to go for a stupid walk for your stupid mental health? That's the thing that we usually say a lot. Like, you just don't want to go for a walk, you just want to go for a stupid walk for your stupid mental health.
Yeah.
And it's quite important, so we do that sometimes. I think we've spoken a lot about so many different things, and I really appreciate you ladies. I want us to finish off strong with talking about how women are silenced. In your generation, what do you think some of the key things that, as you navigated womanhood, that you are most silenced for? Like, you wished you could ask that question, you wish you could know more about this, you wish you could understand more about this, but no one gave you that opportunity to ask or to figure out. What were you most silenced for?
Watching my parents, I noticed my mom did not have say, and that made me know as a woman I could not ask questions. It's personal, but I really saw how women, we have to get authority from the man to do what we want to do, and maybe you're earning more money or in a better position than the man, so you feel so devalued. Like, you watch your mother doing all this work, but the man is still taking precedence, and it's not right. I work so hard, but I need to have the right like he does. And it really hurts. Today, it still bothers me, because as a woman, we're supposed to be equal. Let's go do this, let's buy this shamba, let's do this. But at the day they are saying, let's do this, let's do that. Let me consent. It's not I tell you and you agree. You have to decide, okay, let me see what you can do about that. Let me see what you can do about that. So even I was raised with two brothers. I'm the only child. I'm the only girl. So I also felt like, I'd ask my brothers, can we go here? In that tone. Not
like
can we
asking
go
for
here?
permission.
Can we go here?
Like always asking for permission.
It's and I'm begging. It's now when I think back about it, it's really sad, because honestly, women we actually deprived. Growing up, I can tell you, Pastor, we were deprived.
Deprived of?
Expressing ourselves. Like now you say I have to whisper to someone else, I want to go, I'm capable of going, but I have to ask.
Yeah, you're not even saying I want to go.
Exactly.
You're asking, can we?
In a whisper tone, So even when I remember I had my first boyfriend, it was unajificha kabisa. To know that openly, I'm going out to this man. You always hide. your parents are not there. You almost, you have to tune your brother, by the way, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So as women, my dear, our voice was null and void.
Yeah. And is it the same then as it is now?
Today women, hey, my friend, we speak like this. No, that's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
Though in my mom relationship, it didn't happen like that. But for me, it's a whole different ballgame. Hey, you don't come and mess with me, man. Absolutely not.
And this is like when you think about the larger scale of things, it's about inheritance. Is it about marriage? Is it about mothering, like your children? Did you feel like you had active say in navigating through those three
Well,
things?
to be
for
honest,
example?
my mom is the one who used to whoop us, discipline us, not my dad. But and my dad is the one who went out to took us places, did for us things. So they were equal there. They were equal. I was raised up right, but the thing of my mom having to say and to be listened to, he had to get back one way or the other. He didn't have the final say. But for me now, it's a whole different ballgame, and that's where relationships end up getting messed up because we feel we are par with a man.
Yeah.
And honestly, relationships can get messed up to that extent because I feel I'm working, I have money, I've got knowledge. Let's talk about this. Let's not buy this shamba in Naivasha. Let's talk about buying in Nakuru, that kind of thing. But back then, if the man says you're buying in Naivasha, like it or not, you're buying in Naivasha. Case closed. Which honestly, now when I think back about it, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Nelly, what do you think?
What's
Silencing through the years. The difference between the two generations.
Well,
First, talk about your generation.
my generation. Have we been silenced? No, we're all over the internet. But how, as much as we now have so many mediums of expression and channels of voicing our opinions, it's the same way these people who are silencing us also have access to those same mediums, right? So you'll see the more we are the feminist movement is like there's a digital feminist movement. There's also a whole movement of digital anti-feminists and people who uphold patriarchal values, both men and women, who are on those same platforms. So it's as much as we are more outspoken, there's still people who have been raised with these values and still uphold them. So I can say, is that silencing that is being done? It on a personal level, like on an individual level, it feels like there's less of that. And even if you're trying to silence me, I'm not going to be silenced. But when you get to like an institutional level, where there's policymakers, I still feel like we are largely silenced because the people in power either uphold patriarchal values, or even those who we think do not uphold patriarchal values have very little say and very little impact. So on an individual, individual level, we might feel like we are, as much as we are being silenced, we are empowered to still speak out. But unless there's institutional change happening, then there's not much progress. So on that level, it still feels like we have a lot to do.
Have a long way to go.
A long way to go. But it's still, it says something that as an individual, I feel empowered because, I mean, those in power will not be there forever. So that kind of gives me hope. And I feel like change has to start from somewhere. It won't start at the institutional level. It will start with an individual who's willing to speak up and not be silenced. So that's how I feel about it.
Wow, Nelly. I don't have any other questions to ask you because you just finished. I was going to ask if you have like a final word as we close in terms of how just navigated through your generation as a woman, as a mother, you as a woman, not a mother, but thinking about like this entire conversation and wrapping up with a final word, with what to say to anyone listening, like.
I'm grateful to be here, honestly. And whoever listens, I would really ask you to let us respect each other. I remember briefly, we grew up in a bus, and you enter a bus and you're sitting. So a pregnant lady walks in. You see your generation sitting listening to microphone. That lady is there with a pregnancy. Akingangana, and they won't get up. So what I'm asking, let's respect. If you see an elder, help them out. You see a child struggling out there, help them out. talk to someone. When you go to town and see someone, hey man, you look nice today. Hey, what's up? What's up? You don't know them, but just express, just be pleasant to be around. That is help.
Be kind.
Help it. Yes, be kind. Be reachable. When people, wherever you work, whatever it is, have that approachable look in you. To people, oh, she's very approachable. Don't look like, duh, what the hell are you doing here? No, always have that appeal. Let people reach out to you. We're all here to work together. And we need each other. If I fall today, you help me out.
Yes.
If I treat you like crap, you not. So all what I ask, let's live together. We were here. We're all in this world together to live together and be together as one.
Yes.
Good advice, I think.
Yes.
Be kind.
Yes.
Be approachable.
Exactly. Yeah.
Be present. Do you want to say something after the silencing, or do you want to close it as I said what I said and I'm done?
No, I think just to add on to what Wambui has said, I remember when I started out my feminist journey, I was very adamant about hearing other people's perspectives, especially if you share different perspectives or values. But with time, the more I've grown older, there's something to learn from everyone's story and their different perspectives. Even when they have different values, you don't have to end up being friends and hugging and grabbing drinks after, but just understanding how people's experiences shape them. That helps you navigate the world better, because I'm not always going to hang out with feminists. Not everyone in my organization is a feminist, but I have to coexist with them one way or another. So it's very important to have some grace for people who have different perspectives, to a certain extent, especially if it's respectful and all that, the conversation is respectful. So that I find that has been the one thing that I've constantly had to remind myself, and has helped me coexist with people who have different values. And I'll end it there.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Coming, gracing us with your presence, making sure that you have learned something from Nelly today.
Absolutely.
And Nelly has shared her wisdom with you and all of us. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And I will hand it over to Nelly to tell you how you can keep following us and listening to more episodes.
Sure.
Take it away, Nelly.
Be sure to engage Unmothering the Woman on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Unmothering the Woman, and also on YouTube.
Yes.
And follow us on Twitter. Engage with us on
at UnmotherKE.
Yes.
But everything else is at Unmothering the Woman. Thank you, Nelly. You're hired. Okay, goodbye, and see you in the next season.